One afternoon this past summer, I got a phone call. The sister of a friend and former colleague had been murdered, police say, by her boyfriend. It happened in Somerset, Wisconsin, in a house on the banks of the Apple River. Patrick Weiland has been a network television producer and believes passionately that through the media, tragedy can teach.
I love you, Sue.
Even for those battered women who have been unable to see themselves in the headlines about shootings and stabbings and murder-suicides, this,
I guess you're serious about it being over. I'm sure it's probably best.
might sound very familiar.
You're going to regret it, Susie. I'm sorry to say it. I love you. I always will love you.
I want her back, but Sue will not be back.
It was the classic textbook case.
I cannot tell you the heartache, the rage, the sadness, the constant pictures in my mind of her final hours.
If you look at a textbook case of domestic abuse, this was it.
If Sue Weiland's life were a textbook,
She leaves, she goes back.
title it A Study in Escalation,
She leaves, she goes back.
and learn from it.
She didn't have to die. That's the really hard, ugly, horrible truth, is she did not have to die. I have to live with that for the rest of my life.
Peter White, built like a lumberjack, not so powerful now. He's the man St. Croix County has accused of ending a 20-year recurring cancer of a relationship with 19 slashes of a kitchen knife.
I believe you testified.
It's all so clinical inside the courtroom.
I saw multiple sharp force injuries.
When the medical examiner lays it out, not so outside.
The only thing that I found some relief in today was that she died very quickly.
But what is harder to come to terms with is the slow,
I think he groomed her from the time she was a young woman.
steady,
He groomed her to believe this is the way it should be.
and in hindsight, so predictable march Sue and Peter made toward that moment. While the people who loved her watched,
I think it's been like a 20-year fever, just a kind of a low-grade fever.
helpless.
So
This is the first time I've seen Patrick Weiland since his sister's murder just 2 days before. He's flown in from California, and he is clutching a tiny audio cassette,
I've carried this with me for more than 6 years.
a recording from his mother's answering machine
Hi, this is Mary. Please leave your name.
during one of Sue and Peter's breakups. Sue was staying with her mother.
Sue, I know right about now you're probably all pissed off, and I don't blame you.
Oh, buddy.
He hasn't listened to it since he tucked it away, knowing that one day it could be evidence. Think about that for a minute. Predictable, but seemingly unstoppable, and learn from it. Because this is how it works.
Yes, when it comes down to it, there's nobody that really cares about me.
It's all here, the whole story, in 20 minutes of tape.
Your mom will screw you over eventually.
The isolation,
Well, Mary, you must be pretty proud of yourself. After 8 years, you finally split Sue and I up. Tore two people apart that loved each other. Congratulations.
the manipulation,
I'm a good person. I have a big heart. You even said that. I'm hurt. Bye, Sue. Please don't call back.
the intimidation,
You lie so much, Sue. I don't know what the your problem is.
the escalation.
Why do you lie to me? You're a sick woman, bitch.
In the end, this wore her down.
Sorry to bother you. I won't call again. Just one other thing. Good night and bye.
And finally,
Sue and Mom, it's Ann.
It's my other sister.
And if all those messages are from you-know-who, save them, don't erase them, and let's bring them to the police tomorrow. So save them. Bye.
police, in fact, would not get the tape until 3 days after Sue's death. And the next time we'll hear Peter White's voice will be in a call to 911.
I believe my girlfriend's dead and I've been stabbed.
I should have pulled it out and played it for my family. I should have made everybody sit down and listen to this every day for as long as it took until everybody was on the same page that this is a sick man.
It's the kind of awful second-guessing that can tear a family apart.
I never questioned the bond I had with Sue.
And it almost did that. Tension between family members visible even at Sue's funeral, siblings questioning themselves and each other.
Sue, this is for you.
To go.
It was so painful because it got Sue upset.
Neighbors knew, saw bruises and blood, but wouldn't call police. Sue minimized it.
She would be the one who would say, "Don't make waves, we're getting along really well right now."
Women leave, I think it's something like 5 to 7 times before they stay gone. They go back because of all the things that drew them into the relationship in the first place, because sometimes that person can be loving.
He could be charming until you try to call him into account for something. Then he would be horrible.
But this summer, things changed. The family had it.
I told her, if you go back in the ring, I'm not going back in with you.
Mary talked.
He's so dangerous, Sue. He's so dangerous.
And this time, Sue listened.
And then I said, well, this is an awful thing to talk about tonight. And she said, no, Mom, keep talking. I need to hear this.
Sue left, seemed strong enough to stay away, and moved into the most lethal time.
I do believe that she was intent on leaving him, and he knew that.
It is the most dangerous time because
domestic violence is really about control in a relationship, and so the point at which she's getting ready to leave or thinking about leaving is the time when her abuser is at risk of losing control.
This is a tricky thing to talk about. How to convince women how careful they need to be at this point.
They are hunters. They are hunters. They know exactly what their prey is, and they can sense when their prey is about to flee.
Without making them too scared to leave, if leaving really is the safest thing to do.
Clean break, and I'm telling you, I should have moved her. In hindsight.
Because in August, and this is very typical of battered women, Sue went back to the house one last time.
My girlfriend, I think, is dead, too. Okay.
Police believe Peter White killed Sue, stabbed himself, then called 911. Neighbors heard the fight, but did nothing.
The sheriff's car pulls up in the driveway, and a woman sheriff with her brown uniform got out. And I knew. What I would like to say to him is, she did not belong to you. She did not belong to you. You had no right. You had no right. You killed her. You killed her.